Well, it's time now to get some business news, and we're going to be focusing on Bangladesh and specifically the plight of garment workers there who've been organising in a bid to obtain a decent living wage. Charles Pellegrin is on set with us to tell us more.
That's right, the current minimum wage of the garment industry was last set in 2018, and since then inflation and depreciation of the national currency means a dramatic drop in purchasing power for workers. So in the past couple of weeks, protests started erupting around the country, sometimes turning violent while employers made a first offer of a 25% wage hike that was judged insufficient. On Tuesday, a state-appointed board that sits every 5 years to set the minimum wage and is comprised of representatives from manufacturers, unions, and wage experts made the announcement that minimum monthly pay will actually be raised by over 50%. Meaning from over 8,000 taka to 12,500 taka, so close to 106 euros. That decision was immediately rejected by unions, saying it isn't enough to cover basic living expenses, and who are demanding a near tripling of the figure to 23,000 taka a month, so just under 200 euros. A local think tank, the South Asia Network for Modeling, has estimated that the living wage in Bangladesh is anywhere between 19,200 to 26,000 taka, depending on the area you live in. The wage dispute is a crucial matter for an industry that is central to Bangladesh's economy, with between 3,500 and 4,000 factories in the country hiring close to 4 million workers, in majority women. It represents 16% of the country's GDP and 85% of all of its exports. Garment manufacturers' clients include such global fashion powerhouses as H&M, Zara Inditex, Gap, or on the upmarket scale, more Hugo Boss and Lululemon as well. And the manufacturers have asked these groups to help them pay this wage increase. Faced with slowing global demand for these ready-made clothes, exports dropped 14% last month, adding further pressure on the industry, which has some of the lowest wages in the region. Clashes between garment workers and police continued this Wednesday, with one female worker killed and several injured in the garment hub of Ghazipur on the outskirts of the capital, Dhaka. Now, moving on to China, where Reuters has an exclusive report saying Beijing has asked the Ping An Insurance Group to take a controlling stake in embattled real estate giant Country Garden, the nation's biggest private property developer, citing 4 people familiar with the matter. This comes amid sluggish economic growth in the country, dragged by the overly indebted real estate sector, local government debt concerns, and weak consumption. Liza Herbert tells us how the government is trying to shift its economic policy.
When China lifted most of its zero COVID restrictions, leaders expected the economy to jump back up in 2023. Instead, it remains fragile, with 2 of the culprits a real estate meltdown and local debt crunch.
Global investors have some concerns about Chinese economy, including the pace of economic recovery, problems with property markets, and local government debt. You may ask me, are you worried? No?
To combat some of the issues, China's leaders are investing heavily in manufacturing industries such as electric cars and semiconductors. But China is already a manufacturing powerhouse. It is the world's largest producer of solar panels and cars, and makes up close to 30% of the total global output for manufacturing. Some economists are concerned that increased investment could lead to greater reliance on international exports, enough to complicate relationships with trading partners, but not enough to offset the real estate and local debt troubles. Construction and housing make up roughly a quarter of China's economy and have been a key pillar of China's economic growth for decades. But 2 of the country's largest developers crumbled this year amid steep declines in prices, sales and investments. Beijing's economic pivot will be financed by more debt, this time taken on by the central government. China's debt to GDP ratio is now well beyond that of the US and many developed nations.
And let's end with a look at the stock markets in Asia. Shares in Ping An actually dropped over 5% after the publication of that Reuters report, citing that it would take a controlling stake of embattled Country Garden, the real estate developer. And the wider indices all in the red this hour as well in Asia. The Nikkei in Tokyo in that down 1/3%, despite the Reuters Tankan poll showing Japanese manufacturers' business confidence improved for the first time since August, and service sector mood rose for a second month. The Kospian Seoul leading the losses, closing down 0.9%. Let's have a look at what's happening in Europe as well at the open this hour, where most major marketplaces are showing shares trading lower. The Paris CAC 40 down just short of 0.5% lower, and the FTSE in London down just short of 1/3% lower. Haxi.
Charles Pellegrin with the day's top business stories. Thank you very much.